department, as well as camera operator and IT guru, occasionally as well. And here he is.
Welcome, Ballantyne Toastmasters and most welcome guests. Tonight's meeting is a special training meeting. We are a very blessed club. We're very diverse. We have people from all over the world representing our club. We gain new members almost every month, and we have a cadre of experienced and advanced Toastmasters in our club as well. Part of the difficulty of this is the constant change, making sure everybody has a mentor, understands the roles and how they can serve the club. So one of the ideas that we have been discussing for quite some time is to record one of our meetings and let everybody have the opportunity to see how a meeting regularly runs at their own leisure and maybe understand the roles that they may be asked to serve in the future. So that's what we're attempting to do this evening. As a club, we do everything we can to make sure that all new members get off to a great start. We try to get everyone up here to do their icebreaker within the first few weeks and get through the first 3 competent communicator manual projects within the first few months. And we also try to engage everybody in regular meeting roles on a regular basis. And the best way to learn how to become a Toastmaster is regular meeting attendance and participation. And it's a great way to serve, and it's a great way to be served. Again, we're going to operate this meeting as much like a regular meeting as possible, but with a special emphasis on explaining the roles and the methods to introducing those roles and operating those roles as possible. For example, tonight, I'm your Toastmaster. The Toastmaster is the master of ceremonies, the captain of the ship, at the helm, hopefully navigating the meeting through some calm waters. But things do change. Scheduling situations arise, and being able to adapt to those changes is what leadership is all about. That's one of the skills we're all trying to learn as Toastmasters. I also serve as your VP of Education. So I actually have 2 roles working this evening, both on the same subject, the agenda. As the Toastmaster, I'm operating the meeting, therefore I am navigating the agenda to make sure we operate in an efficient manner. Also, as the VP of Education, I take on the objective of scheduling people for these roles on the agenda weeks in advance. So, working in conjunction with myself this week, I try to set everything up in advance, trying to keep people scheduled in techniques that they're well suited for. In this particular meeting, I try to ask people that are experienced in particular roles to demonstrate those roles in an effective way that help all Toastmasters gain in the future. Everyone joins Toastmasters for a different reason. My #1 goal when I joined Toastmasters was to get rid of my verbal graffiti. And believe it or not, Toastmasters think that's very important too. They think it's so important, they developed a meeting rule that's specifically designed to help us improve our vocabulary and get rid of verbal graffiti in our presentations. Serving in that role this evening, we call it the grammarian. And explaining the grammarian role this evening is our most capable Toastmaster, Connie Rist.
And what is verbal graffiti? It's the ahs, the ums. How often do you hear someone speak and you're distracted by they'll say another word, yeah, and so these are connector words, and they can distract from the message. So if you understand how often you're repeating those words, then all of a sudden you can change that habit. My terrible habit years and years ago was and I actually had a dear friend of mine, she was serving as a mentor, and she taped me, and for hours had to listen to myself, had to count my own you-knows. I don't say anymore. It was really obnoxious. She kept saying, if I know it already, why are you telling me? Again and again. So my job tonight is to count the ums, the ahs, the connecting words, and things like that. That is vocal graffiti. And tonight, and I do apologize, my word is very small. So the word of tonight is coruscate. I'd never heard that word, but I love it. It is to give off or reflect light in bright beams or flashes, to sparkle, to be brilliant or showy in technique or style. And I immediately thought of one of our Toastmaster members. I look for joy in people's eyes, and when Phil speaks, he coruscates his joyful passion. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Connie, for an excellent presentation of the grammarian role. Now, one thing I want to point out, we are not trying to say this is the right way to do it. We want everyone to feel comfortable presenting the role in their own style with their own technique. We're just trying to give everyone a good, solid foundation, good, solid example of how the role might be presented. There are plenty of video examples on the internet. You can Google for Toastmaster roles and see videos and explanations on paper. So we want you to feel comfortable to deliver your role in your own style. One of the most important roles I have as a Toastmaster is keeping the meeting moving on time and efficiently, but I can't do it alone. Helping me control the timing of the meeting is our role, the timer. Presenting the role of timer this evening is David Nottingham.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, the role of the timer is really important in Toastmasters because this helps us know that if we go to our boss's office and say, hey, I need 3 minutes of your time, you know how long you speak and how many words you need to speak in that 3 minutes of time. So it's very important that we know what our timing is. So by having an acknowledged amount of time for our speeches and the feedback, the instant feedback of the timer, including the visual feedback from using a set of cards or lights, as we normally do, you can see whether you're at the minimum time of your speech, halfway through your speech with the yellow, or near the end of your time with the red timer. So between the cards and the timers, the stopwatch or your smartphone, the timer's role is very important so that you can get the table topics timed, the prepared speeches timed, and the evaluations timed. So that is the timer's role.
These are two of the supporting roles in our club meeting. We have one more supporting role that helps us become better Toastmasters. Believe it or not, Toastmasters have figured a way to amp up public speaking. They engage us in a little friendly competition in every meeting. And to evaluate how we do in that competition, well, we need a vote. And to help us run that vote is our ballot counter. Serving as our ballot counter this evening is Ben Loventhal.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. In a purely normal meeting, we would have ballots in front. And at this point in time, we would ask, or I would ask you to separate the ballots for future use. My job as ballot counter is simple. You vote, I count. You don't vote, I have nothing to do. So please pretend it's Chicago and vote often. Fellow Toastmasters.
As an excellent example of introducing your role with a little humor, a little twist. That's personally welcome. Anything you want to do, as long as it's within Toastmaster standards, is perfectly acceptable. It's about our own growth. Think about this in your work environment or personal or professional environment. What are the different ways you'd want to see this? If you were doing this sort of thing on a weekly basis like we do, you want to see a carbon copy presentation of these roles every week. So feel free to interject your own flair. One other quick thing I want to mention, these supporting roles, they are not easy. Our presenters did an excellent job of presenting them, but it takes a few months to get used to getting up to the lectern, fully explaining the role, operating the role, and then giving a report at the end of the meeting. So again, it takes regular participation, regular meeting attendance, and as you do that, as you practice it, your skills will develop. Great. Enough about the agenda, enough about the supporting meeting rules. Let's get into what Toastmasters is all about, the formal presentations. This evening, our first presenter, I've asked to do a special project. We're not just served in the regular meetings by these roles. Toastmasters is a very large organization, 270,000 members worldwide, 13,000 clubs worldwide. To run an organization like that, you need volunteers at all levels, a lot of people working very hard, all the way down to the club level. And at the club level, we have multiple officer roles that serve us. We have officer elections coming up, and I want everyone to know how these officers serve you. But I also want you to know or see how you might be able to serve the club likewise in these roles. It's an excellent way to serve. So our first presenter this evening is our past club president. I've asked Rick to explain the officer roles so you know how, again, each role serves you and how you can best serve the club by serving in that role. Presenting our club officer roles is our past club president, Rick Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I'm not a techie, as David Nottingham is. I get these things in my hands, and I've got my laptop over there, and something's on the screen there, and I'm trying to. There we go. How about that? Give me a round of applause. We got it on the screen, and that's my attitude of service. No, not at all. In our mission statement, we're supposed to provide a learning environment. It said that we learn by doing. But when we joined, do you remember seeing the Toastmasters Promise? Right? And in there it says, when your club calls on you to be an officer, that you should step forward and do so. Leadership skills. Again, learning by doing. It seems that when we take that step to becoming an officer of the club, hi Deb, we find ourselves actually engaged and learning to be leaders, learning by doing. And in doing so, we build that confidence and we practice our management skills. And like myself, I do indeed put Toastmasters down on my resume. And in fact, a job that I got, I was hired due to the fact that the plant manager, the plant director, was in Toastmasters as well. And that was a check. But indeed, we've learned to communicate, we've learned to have confidence, and if we've taken that step to being a club officer or a district officer or such, it's amazing our confidence, how it grows. These are the 7 club positions. Did everybody see all right? Because I feel like I should be walking in front, getting to the other side, but I think I'm going to stay on one side in doing this. And I'm surprised that it's listed sort of upside down. I usually think of the list with the president at the top, vice president of education, but indeed they put the sergeant at arms at top. Now, in my history, I think either I've actually been one of these roles, or I have acted in one of these roles, or by default had to do one of these roles. But these are the 7. They form the leadership executive committee along with the immediate past president in our club. One of the things all officers do, and indeed some of these apply to all members as well, all Toastmasters, is that you want to promote club excellence, attend the executive meetings, which we have usually the first Thursday of the month after the regular meeting. As mentioned in Dorothy's announcements, TLI is what is our district leadership, Toastmasters Leadership Institute for officer training. So it's not like you saying, okay, you're the treasurer, go for it, you can do it. No, there's actually training for the officer at these TLIs. Now, indeed, you say, well, June 30th, I don't know if I can make that or not. Well, they have one in the east, one in the west, plus the divisions will even sponsor what's called TLI Light afterwards. So don't panic and just say, I'm not going to be there for training. Even Philip Jones says he's going to be out of the country. No, I mean, out of the state during the summer. And I say that shouldn't put you off, because somewhere along the line, you'll find that training and so forth. As I said, all members should greet guests, but officers especially. And the one that's easily neglected is to prepare a successor. Groom who's going to follow you in that position. Tend to forget about that, but it is something that should be an ongoing process. The president, top of the ladder. Put him at the bottom of the list, but at the top of the ladder. Now, our situation, Doug Grant is our president, but we somehow, we decided to split and do 6-month terms this month, and Dorothy was actually our president the first half of the year, and then they flip-flopped for VP of membership. And again, I apologize, I haven't had a whole lot of time to prepare this, so if you find me glancing at the board, I apologize. In essence, I think of the president as the cheerleader for the club, the rah-rah person who says, let's get moving, motivate achievements, promote the DCP. The DCP being the Distinguished Program, Distinguished Club Program. And if you look at our banner, you'll see that we have 3 of our 4 banners from our first 4 years up there. I don't know what has happened to year number 3, but we have 2 Presidents Distinguished and 1 Select, but it should be 2 Select Distinguished status for our years. We've been at the top from the beginning, and the DCP to me is our metric system. It's how the club is meeting the goals of its members. It's a way to tie that. Who's getting their competent communicators? Who's getting their competent leadership? Who's going and getting the officer training? But the president is the one that really pushes this, the rah-rah. Also conducts business meetings. In addition, the president opens the meeting and in some clubs closes the meeting. We generally just have it as the presiding officer being the president usually. Facilitates communications between other areas and divisions within the district. Networks with other clubs. Recognizing member achievements. So important. Recognition is probably one of the best forms of feedback to show where people are going, to show their excellence, to show how they've grown. Again, the president is the cheerleader. This is the glue for a club, the VP of Education. You think the president's the top dog? The VP of Education is what really is the glue, the driving force behind the club. Frank has taken that role and he has pulled it and pulled this club to higher levels than ever before. We stream our meetings for all people to see. Frank started that long before he was VP of Ed. He looked at it as another way of feedback for his own speeches. In the beginning, his icebreaker. It says the second ranking officer, but I really think President and VP of Ed go hand in hand. Again, the VP of Ed is responsible for scheduling roles, setting up mentors, promoting the leadership. Fun meetings. And I tell you, we do have fun here. Now, when I talk about fun, is our timer flashing a green card at me. Because I had no idea how long this was going to be. I came up saying, well, 8 to 12 minutes. So I know I'm between 8 and 10 minutes now. So let's see if I can try to speed this along so we can have some more meeting. Again, scheduling of roles, being the chair for the contests, making sure new members have mentors. Biggest keys that the VP of Ed has. And again, I'm gonna flash through a lot of this, okay? Because I think there's a lot more here than can be. Again, facilitating communication. Communication, that is the cornerstone of Toastmasters, right? It comes from leadership. It comes from practicing by doing, from confidence. VP of Membership. Roles and responsibilities. Well, it should be membership, right? That's where we want to get membership, right? Make a plan for club membership. We do bring a buddy night and so forth. 1 new member each month. 20 members by year end. Work on retention. When guests come, and this is something I think we need to get back to, is that we need to get back to having a guest packet ready for our guests. A lot of times I think we send the guests the information after they've been here. But again, meeting the guests, bringing them back, staying in contact with them. Again, I'm going to go through this a little bit quick because I think my time is running short. Again, dealing with new members and so forth, getting them in the program. VP of Public Relations. Public relations. Now, we think of that as outside the club, right? What is being done outside of the club to promote the club and Toastmasters? Dealing with media. All different ways. And with social media now, it's even a wider spread that we can work in. Planning a strategy. Maybe have special club events. Working with the VP of Membership and getting those new guests to come to Toastmasters. Ron, how did you find out about Toastmasters on those last 2 roles?
Your club, or
Toastmasters and our club, yes.
Somewhere along the line, but it was really encouraged whenever I took a presentation skills class in December.
Okay.
And I've been sort of ruminating about it for a while and finally decided to visit. And you're very close to where I work, so we live.
Secretary. Roles and responsibilities. Again, maintaining club records. Making sure people are informed. Some things I feel like I'm not doing. Maintaining any officer changes to area government. I think that's a sort of like an ad hoc thing we all do. The money man, the treasurer. Preparing a budget, making sure dues are paid on time, collecting dues, viewing applications as act for accuracy. Now it says send new member applications to World Headquarters. I think in our club, the VP of membership handles that, so there's a little bit of, again, this is something Toastmasters International has put out, and as such, all clubs do things a little bit differently, but again, all clubs have the same core principles. Sergeant at Arms. Now, indeed, this is the Sergeant at Arms starter kit that all Sergeant at Arms get at TLI. Hat is optional, but I think there's a real indifference to wearing the uniform to meetings. Cindy, how many times have you worn the uniform?
Just once.
Just once? Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit stiff. But the Sergeant at Arms is essentially the keeper of assets of the club. Is a broad definition, plus is somewhat responsible for making sure that the meeting space is ready, and also when we finish putting everything back where it belongs. We're very fortunate at Ballantyne Toastmasters in that TW Telecom has allowed us to use this conference room, and we're forever thankful. And it does keep down our expenses by not having to pay rent here or fees to stay here. Because secure meeting location, we've never really had to deal with that. We've always been lucky to meet right here. Although we've talked about other areas, but if you go out and check, clubs that meet at YMCA's or restaurants or even libraries, I think, are charged for that meeting time. And it's a fast way to use up your resources. And we've been very fortunate that we've been able to apply our resources in other ways. Some of these, we don't do the Pledge of Allegiance here, but a lot of clubs do, and I know at district and area and division functions they are. It says calls meeting to order. Now, it's like, does the president open the meeting? Does the sergeant at arms open the meeting? And this is something we've discussed at the executive meeting, and Frank and I have talked about, is that maybe the sergeant at arms calls the meeting to order and then introduces the presiding officer to open the meeting officially. Again, let's summarize. What are your goals? You came to Toastmasters probably thinking just, I want to improve my public speaking. But indeed, by being a Toastmaster, it's gone far beyond that. You gain confidence, and we learn by doing with that confidence, and indeed take that step to be a club officer. It will be invaluable what you learn by doing. Do I have any questions about any of the roles? I've explained it so well. People just want me to get off the stage and sit down. But I thank you for your time, and I hope that now you have an idea of what the roles of officers actually do. Mr. Toastmaster. Help me.
One more time. She'll go off in a minute. Thank you, Rick, for explaining the officer roles. It's a long subject. As you can see, there are a lot of officer roles, a lot of ways your officers serve you, and a lot of ways you can serve. Everyone here has skills that they're particularly well endowed with, and we ask everyone to take that as serious consideration in serving in one of these capacities. Now at this time, normally the Toastmaster would call for 1 minute of silence to prepare comments for the presenter. Now, this was not a normal presentation that's receiving a normal evaluation, but I would like you to please still take a minute to prepare your comments, but I'm not going to give you complete silence because I'm going to explain the comment sheet a little bit. We in Ballantyne Toastmasters have multiple forms of feedback. Normally you receive a verbal evaluation at the lectern of your presentation. You receive a written evaluation from your evaluator, and we also video record. I think we're also very open as a club, and we usually will discuss with the presenter something we particularly like, or maybe something they can improve upon at the end of the meeting. But the primary purpose of the written comments is for you to give that written comment back to the presenter. Everyone has their own perspective on what they saw, and it can really help the presenter understand your perspective. Now on these comments, it's okay to say, great speech, I loved it. It's just not very helpful. Tell them why you loved it. Your voice was particularly strong, and I was very engaged. Your gesture seemed very appropriate for the material. Your slides had great color and great depth. Or your voice was very monotone and weak. I couldn't hear you in the back of the room. Your gestures, well, you may have added a little bit more hand gestures or body movement to add a little more interaction with your presentation. Your slides had too much information. I couldn't read them. This helps the presenter make a better presentation, and that's how you can help each other grow. Now it's time for our second presenter. This evening, we're not going to be doing table topics as normal, but we have a district champion giving his table topics secrets to us. District, that's the state. We had one of the best table topics presenters in the state going to share his secrets on how to give an extemporaneous presentation. Jose Gastaldi is not just our treasurer. Again, he's a district champion table topic presenter. Jose, please share your table topic secrets.
If you completely and absolutely love participating in table topics, please raise your hand. Okay, not bad. Fellow Toastmaster, Mr. Toastmaster, my name is Jose Gastaldi, and I am the champion of table topics, as it's been said. And today I'm going to share with you two things. One is going to be, what is the role of the table topics master in the meeting? And the second part of the meeting is going to be how to successfully participate and master table topics. All right, so what is table topics? Why do we have table topics in this meeting? Why not just avoid all that anxiety and let's just leave it to prepare speeches? Well, that's exactly the key. Life is a table topics. Think about this. Every single day we participate in table topics, don't we? The most frequent and easiest table topic question is, how are you? Or like Joey from the show Friends will say, how you doing? So you can take that and transform it into a table topics questions. How was your day? How was the project? How's it going? What are you doing tomorrow? All those are table topics questions. Why do we have it here in the meeting? Because we want everybody to participate. We want everybody to be able to speak. There are members who at some point or another don't have a role, so those are the key participants in table topics. Okay, so what is the role of the table topics master? Well, in one hand, before the meeting, is to research and come up with some questions, about 4 to 6, depending on how many participants. Also, to take a look and see who does not have a role in the meeting. Those are your number one candidates for table topics. Next is those who have minor roles. You can also call upon them. And you can also call on guests or visiting members. Before the meeting, please make sure that you approach one of our guests, explain briefly how table topics works, encourage them to participate, and call them upon when table topics comes. During the meeting, when your time comes, get up, be ready at the chair, because we always videotape the meetings. Shake the hand of the Toastmaster, and you are in control of the meeting. Please give a short introduction of what table topics is. Maybe someone is not a new member or a guest, don't quite know how it works, but make it short and sweet. From 1 to 2 minutes, we practice extemporaneous speaking. You can also use some time to introduce your questions, but always remember, do not steal the thunder from the participants. We want to know how they can answer the questions. That's the key of table topics. Now, when you're called upon being a participant, yeah, that's the key. All right, so how do you successfully master table topics? I had the opportunity of participating in a table topics contest, and I was lucky enough to win the club contest, area, division, and district. And that was a fantastic experience. Met a lot of great people, and I learned how to master table topics. And I'm just going to go ahead and share it with you so that we can have some pretty nice competition next time. All right, 3 very easy steps to master table topics. Not 5, not 10, only 3. Number 1, always keep in mind that you are going to be called upon to participate in table topics. Oh, but I'm the Toastmaster, but I'm giving a speech. No. You have to start by practicing to have the attitude to come wanting to answer table topics. So no matter what, when table topics comes, just get excited. Yes, my name is going to be called. When your name is actually called, well, chin up, smile, come here, shake hands, listen to the question, and then you are in control of the meeting. You are the one answering the question, nobody else. And listen, if you have a great body language and you have a great attitude, if you have a good vibe, you already answer 80% of the questions, so there's really nothing to worry about. Number 2, always remember that no matter what, the answer that you come up with is right. Yeah, it's right. This is not the SAT. This is not a final exam. You're always right. Have you ever heard of a table topics contestant who has been interrupted with something like, excuse me, no. You are not addressing the question that I asked you. So let me just read it again. That never happens. Or that someone at the end says, we have 4 table topics participants, but I am sorry to inform that one of them was disqualified because that person did not address the question properly. That never happens. So you are always right. And you are always right because, moving to step number 3, make it personal. We want to know about you. We want to know what your opinion is. We want to know what is it that moves you. We want to know what happened in your past, where are you going, what your lives look like. We want to know about you. We just don't want to know the scientific answer for a question. We don't want to know the Wikipedia answer for a certain topic. No, I have an iPhone. I can Google it and I will find it quicker than you can say. 3 easy steps. Good body language, positive attitude. Number 2, remember, you're always right no matter what. And 3, you're always right because you're going to make it personal. Okay, I know what you're saying. Yeah, that is very easy up until the moment when they call my name and everything goes blank. So how about if we come up with an example? And for this example, I'm going to have the help of two dear guests in our meeting. To the left of the room, we have Jose. To the right, we have host B. And we're going to come up with the first question. Guys ready? Ready or not, here we go. Question. Who is the author of the book Crime and Punishment? Who is the author of a book, Crime and Punishment? Jose, take it away, please. The author is a guy called Fyodor Dostoevsky, and he's from Russia. He goes by Fedor, I guess, and some people call him Mr. Dostoevsky. And that's a pretty long book, 461 pages, 18 chapters, I think. Yeah, 18 chapters, 461 pages. Thank you. Thank you, Jose, for that answer. Host B, who is the author of Crime and Punishment? Take it away. Fellow Toastmasters, Crime and Punishment. Well, let me tell you what happened one time. Back in the days, I had no debit card, I had no credit card, I had just the allowance that my parents gave me. I was a poor little kid back in the 5th grade, and I had to buy some school supplies. Well, my dad gave me $10 and said, here you go, you have to buy your notebook, your pen, your ruler, everything. Well, I took the money, put it in my pocket, went to the mall, chill. It was a little cold that day. So I sat in a bench, I looked at some people, my hands in my pocket, and then I walk around, and suddenly, you're not gonna believe this, I found $10. I found $10. Oh, so I took that money, went to the candy store, asked them to bring the candy from the back because $10 in candy, that's a ton of candy. And I had ice cream, I had every single possible thing. Once I got my belly full and the sugar was all over my head, I said, well, I'm gonna have to go and buy the school supplies. Ooh, the $10, where are they? Turns out that the $10 that I found is the $10 that I had. And I had just spent the money for the school supplies. My goodness. I don't consider that to be a crime, but my parents definitely gave me a punishment. So I don't know about you. I have no idea who wrote Crime and Punishment. But eating candy is not a crime. But you get punished if you don't buy your school supplies. Thank you very much. Thank you, husband. So there you have it. In one hand, you have a robot, give us the exact down to the dot answer, which again, we can all Google it and find out that anyway, as soon as we leave, we're gonna forget what was his name? Whatever his guy's name was. But on the other hand, we got host B, great attitude, chin up, gave us something personal about him. We know that he likes candy, we know that he ran into some troubles, and we know a lot of things about him. So fellow Toastmasters, let me ask you again. Next time that we have a meeting, who is going to be loving Table Topics Master? Raise your hand or both at the same time. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jose. That's an excellent explanation of table topics and how to give a great table topics presentation. Now, will everyone please take a real minute to make comments for Jose. I apologize if you don't have ballots or scrap paper. Give them your comments verbally after the meeting. I apologize. I didn't think about putting the ballots out because we weren't doing votes, so my apologies. Thank you, Mr. Timer. Ladies and gentlemen, normally at this point in the meeting, we do the table topics presentation, but we're not going to be doing those this evening. So we're going to get ready to go into the next most critical phase of the meeting. Before we start that, I want to give my 2 cents on being the table or the Toastmaster of the evening. There is a very diverse opinion on how the role that the Toastmaster plays. In my opinion, and I know a few others share it, I am just the facilitator of the meeting. I'm not to be the subject of the meeting. Sometimes we come to a Toastmaster meeting and there's 15, 20 minutes of the Toastmaster. I want to highly encourage everyone, develop a theme, bring facts, make it interesting, but don't make the meeting about the Toastmaster. It's about the presenters. It's about the table topics presenters. It's about the evaluations. So consider that when you're filling the role of Toastmaster. Now we get into what the Toastmasters organization was originally founded on, to giving effective evaluations. We are all going to grow as Toastmasters. And the main way we grow is understanding what we do well and what we need to improve upon. So leading our evaluations this evening is our Vice President of Membership, Dorothy Seidel.
All right. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Hope you're doing well. Part number 3, all about evaluations and feedback. As the general evaluator, your role is a couple things that you have to hit. Not only are you going to call upon the evaluators, the timer, the grammarian, and give a general evaluation of the meeting. So let's see how this all could work out in an actual meeting. Our first speaker, as part of the general evaluation, will give you an idea on how an evaluation could be done. And tonight it will be presented by Phil Ufeld.
Thanks, Dorothy. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. It's my pleasure to see you all this evening. So let's put this concept of evaluation in perspective. Number one, the skill most required is listening. We come to Toastmasters to deliver speeches, be involved as speakers, but I think this is the most important skill needed for evaluators, is to listen. Listen carefully, listen for everything you can to accomplish the purpose of an evaluator, which is to help that speaker grow, help them get better. How do we as individuals, adults, grow and get better? When someone reinforces, A, what we do well, and B, when they find something that can help us to get better. And ultimately, if we use that concept of the sandwich format, if you will, with a positive reinforcement, something to help us grow, and close it with something else positive, particularly as to how it adds value, that's effective when you evaluate someone. It leaves that individual feeling that they have accomplished something, that they've grown somehow. So think tonight about Rick's presentation. I'll treat that as the format for how we evaluation. Think to yourself, was Rick's presentation effective? Because as an evaluator, that's what we want to get to. That's the point we want to get to, is was that presentation effective? What's your response? You don't have to answer out loud, but answer to yourself. Was it effective? Think first of all of his delivery. How did he deliver this material? And then think of the content, because when you put the two together, then you can really understand what the effectiveness was. So let's tackle this sandwich format with Rick. Rick, a strength. You always are so well prepared when you deliver a talk. I've seen you give numerous talks, and you're always so well prepared. Now here's the sense I got from Rick's presentation this evening. He kind of was asked last minute to deliver it. He probably used some canned material, because I don't think you invented all those slides overnight. He used something that maybe someone else had put together to help explain the officer roles. However, he made me think that as he delivered it, he could have been the one that invented all of that material, right? He used it so effectively. Now, how do I think Rick could maybe improve a little bit within the delivery of this? I don't think he needed to give us an apology. I think if he just walked right through it, he didn't need to apologize. In fact, I think professional speakers would advise you never to offer an apology. Just go muddle through if you have to, but just deliver it there. You didn't need to do that. And I would like to recommend for all of us that we learn is when we use PowerPoint, I think you're best off if you have the PowerPoint here, like in Note Pages, and that just reinforces your material. When you have to use that, there's the speaker, there's the model that everyone, no, you use that as a reinforcing tool while you deliver, even if you have to have Note Pages in your hand, because we want the audience to be focused on you as the speaker. Rick, that's probably the only critique here that I could really offer to help you even improve in that. Nonetheless, he was very effective, and I think he reinforced the value of officer roles in the club, particularly as it relates to service. So I'm certain all of you learned some other minute details about various officer roles, so the content was outstanding. And I'll close by asking you to answer to yourself, am I inspired to be of service in my club as an officer in these upcoming elections? And if you do feel so inspired, then we know that he was effective with his talk, don't we? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Phil, for the first evaluation and how to actually be an evaluator. In addition, we have another evaluator coming up, Cynthia Koba, evaluating Jose's Castaldi speech.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters. Well, first, I'm honored to be able to evaluate Jose Gastaldi and his amazing speech, the Table Topics champion. One thing I loved about his speech was he came up, he gave us a question, he had lots of energy and movement. His voice already captivates you. You're like, what's this going to be about? You know, I'm so excited. And Table Topics, it's not something that really excites me. And in the beginning, you know, 5 hands maybe went up. Throughout the whole thing, you had movement. You answered the who, what, why. Why do we have table topics? How do we do it? What are your roles as a table topics master? What's your role as a table topics speaker? And then next, you gave us some examples. You added the personal touch and got us engaged in it with the anecdote of you going to the district competition and how you felt. And then you gave us, my favorite part, the example of how to actually do a table topics speech. So the how-to steps: always be ready, have good body language and attitude. Your answer is always right, which inspires confidence. And then make it personal. People love to hear your stories. And you can tell from the example from Jose to Hose B, the audience clapped midway. After Hose B, everyone's clapping, like, yeah, that was great. And the speech wasn't even actually completed. So that was really awesome. You can tell that you already inspired us halfway through your presentation. And encourage us not to put too much pressure on being perfect or knowing the Wikipedia answer, which is good because I have a tendency to do that. One thing I would suggest is the how-to steps were great. Maybe we could have a little takeaway to bring home with us, or add a call to action at the end of the speech. We're all excited. Everyone's hands were up by the end. Give us a challenge. Like everyone, you know, do table topics or practice or overcome your fear, ask to be called upon. But overall, just great tone, great body language, great examples. So it was one of my favorite speeches thus far. So thank you for the privilege.
All right, moving along as a general evaluator, you need to keep some other people coming forward, and that is the timer, who please gives a timer's report on the speaker, the evaluators, and the table topic speakers that we didn't have tonight, but just give us an example on how that would look like.
Fellow Toastmasters, your timers report this evening is as follows. Jose's speech came in at 10 minutes, 27 seconds. He would be qualified barely with 3 seconds to go, actually 4 seconds to go, before being disqualified. Cynthia's evaluation was right in the midline, right on target at 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Madam General Evaluator.
All right. The next step as being an evaluator is to ask the membership to vote. And now our ballot counter told us already you're supposed to vote often, and you have or would have in a regular meeting these little slips on your table already ready to go to fill out the item and then put it in the designated cup and pass it back to the ballot counter so that he can tally up the votes. After that, you will call on the grammarian's report. And Connie, let's see, how could a grammarian's report look like?
The exciting part about tonight is the fact you've heard from the masters in our chapters. So therefore, you heard very, very few connecting words. So I'm pleased to say, if you had one, I did not hear it tonight. So congratulations on a wonderful job. We're not here only to develop our speaking skills. We're here to develop our listening skills. Listening is a big, big part of Toastmasters, and so therefore a grammarian has to actively listen. The evaluators have to constantly listen to make sure that they've got everything that, very important parts. And you'll find in your everyday life, you're wanting to listen more to the speaker than you've ever listened in your prior history. So many people love to talk too much. So therefore, we need to learn to listen, and you're in a great venue. I'm very happy to have both of you here tonight.
So after you've called upon quite a few people to come up to the lectern, then it's on to you to give your general evaluation of the meeting. So here we are. What do we want to talk about? 2 things. How was the meeting in general? Did it flow all right? Did we start on time? Was the room easy to find? And was it set up properly? All the things that you can check off and start your general evaluation with. Number 2 is you're supposed to give an evaluation of the actual evaluators. So you could comment on how they, for example, paraphrased the speech. Also, I would like to commend Cindy on how she made us realize that she saw something happening here during the speech of Jose. Then she heard what he was saying and registered that and told us how everything felt to her. So there were the 3 steps and technique that she utilizes in order to give her a general evaluation. Similar to Phil, who told us about the technique of sandwich. Something good, something to improve on, and something good. So again, techniques that you can also utilize for your own evaluation of the evaluator. After that, it's really easy because you only have to relinquish the control back to the lectern. But I want to leave you with 2 more comments. The Toastmasters meeting are fun, and especially to be a general evaluator once you've been to quite a few. You've realized how the meeting flows and know what to look out for. This is not a room to critique anybody or to not learn. It's an opportunity to develop yourself and your skills. You are here to learn and to focus, to be an active listener for an entire meeting, and that's key.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, we are nearly at the conclusion of our meeting. At this point, I would ask our guest, Rob, what are your impressions of our Toastmasters meeting?
Thank you. I was thinking you might ask me something. You're all very, very, I think this is what I take away from this. There's a lot of energy and excitement, and you all seem to have special skills in the way you speak. I mean, you've developed inflection, tone. You place emphasis on words that I wouldn't have been expecting, but you all seem to have risen to a very high level of expertise, and that impressed me very much. And I'm excited right now. That's
Well,
great.
thank you all. We hope you'll join us. This is a wonderful organization. We're all very supportive of each other, and we all have different goals, but we're heading in a common direction. We hope you join us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any member comments at this point?
Is Robbie a new member?
He is. Have you sent it in?
Yeah, but this is my second week. So I'm
Right,
really a
I
member.
wasn't sure.
Formally, I'm not. So I've got my checkbook. So I can call.
Okay.
Good.
You can come in as a guest or a member. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you. Again, normally at this point, we would have the awards for the meeting. Who was the best speaker, the best evaluator, the best table topics. We didn't conduct that form of competition this evening. But I would like to recognize our second presenter, Jose Castaldi. This evening, he completed his Competent Communicator Manual and is our newest advanced Toastmaster.
Are we on the pins right now?
I believe we are, but Jose, you can have mine. I'll get the next one. I don't know if I can get so
Actually, I
much.
have two. I can give them all.
Oh, Ricky, come on. Yeah, this is important.
This is important.
Come on, Jose, please.
Thanks, everybody.
Jose, please order more pins. Well, that concludes our Toastmaster training evening. I hope all enjoyed. I hope everybody grows from this. And I look forward to next week's meeting. The Toastmaster for next week is Rick Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. What is weekend after next? And what is that the official start of?
Summer.
Summer's here. That's the theme. And we're adjourned.